Hi everyone. Today I'd like to give you some new insights and some new specific reference points for your advanced bow hold on the violin bow. I've taught violin bow holds in the past, but since over the years I've learned some specific markers that I think are really useful when you're just learning a bow hold, or if you're trying to correct a problematic bow hold. So I think these will be useful to you. So in addition to my older video, which is teaching the advanced bow hold for violinists, I'm going to give you some specific points that are going to help to even refine that further. Before I talk about those points, I want to just give you the egg analogy. You know the rule on violin bow holds. The thumb has to be bent, the pinky needs to be bent, but really everything needs to be bent or curled. And so I like to tell my students it's like I'm giving you a little egg, and you're going to gently hold that egg in your hands. You're not going to squish it, and you don't need to panic about holding it tight. Just let it sit there and curl your fingers around it. So an egg is kind of elongated, shaped, and so is our bow hold. So you're going to hold that egg in your hand and then rotate it so that your thumb's on the bottom, and actually rotate it a little past that so that your pinky knuckle is higher than your index knuckle. And that's really a beautiful, beautiful bow hold right there. And my thumb finds its way to these two fingers. We'll refine that more when we talk about the specific marker points. The thumb actually tucks behind the second finger, but it's okay when you're holding your egg, your imaginary egg, for the thumb to just sort of find its way in between those two fingers. Okay, pinky knuckle a little bit higher than index knuckle. That's a beautiful form. Okay, so now let me give you the specific markers, and it's good to do them in this order, starting with middle finger and what's called the throat of the frog. Literally, that's the throat of the frog, is that little horseshoe or that little U shape. So middle finger is like someone who's coming to scare you by peeking their face into your window. They're not going to stick their head right through the window. They're just peeking in and giving you a good scare. So middle finger just sticks his face against the glass and peeks in at you. And thumb is going to be right across from middle finger, and the specific marker for the thumb is your ebony, where the end of the bow, the frog slide ends. Right there is going to contact the corner of your thumb, and your thumb is going to bridge the ebony to your thumb leather. My thumb leather is blue right now because I have foam on it, but every bow has some black thumb leather, and the thumb should touch both the ebony and the ebony and the thumb leather, right, like so. There's one more contact point for thumb for starting out, and this will put you in an awesome position. Is curve your thumb enough till it touches the horsehair. I tell my students that's the only place you're allowed to touch the horsehair, is right there. And then I want you to just, you can even hear it. Listen. You can hear the thumb touching the horsehair. So the thumb touches the ebony, the thumb leather, and the horsehair. And that's how you know that your thumb is bent, because it's touching the horsehair. Now, after you start playing and you get a little bit more advanced or a little more skilled, you're not going to focus on keeping the thumb bent against the hair anymore. It'll go away from the hair, and when you're out at the tip, the thumb will straighten out a little bit, but I don't ever want it buckling or locking. And when you come into the frog, always return to that nice bent thumb, and occasionally touch that horsehair, and remember the good old days when you were taught how to do that. Okay, so far we have middle finger peeking in the window but not sticking his head through the window. Thumb touching the ebony and the thumb leather and the horsehair. And that gives you that nice circle. And occasionally, when you're watching TV or stopped at a stoplight, you can go ahead and practice making circles with thumb slightly tucked behind the fingernail of the middle finger. It's good for you. Okay, so that's these two guys taken care of. The next marker is for index finger. So I know this is called the thumb leather, but it's also the index finger leather. So after you get your guy sticking his head in the window and the thumb bent and touching the horsehair, put the pad of your index finger on the thumb leather. Smack dab on it, because then you're going to slant the index finger and this knuckle will touch the lapping, the metal lapping. Okay, so you've got two contact points with the index finger. It's the pad against the leather and the knuckle against the lapping. And that is, in fact, why the lapping is there, is so that your finger doesn't eventually saw right through your fancy Pernambuco bow. That protects it from wearing out. Just a little trivia for you. Okay, the next marker is pinky. So, so many people, and I did this too, I'm embarrassed, stick their pinky clear out to the end of the wood or even onto the metal, and that's completely out of bounds. The pinky generally, and this might differ for great big hands, but even on tall people I've watched, and their pinky hangs out right above where the ebony frog ends. So right around here, give or take. And that changes as we play. It changes from the tip to the frog. It's dynamic, it's not stuck and stationary. Okay, so pinky's gonna hang out right around here, use that as your target, and then let it be free. The other important thing about pinky is there's two schools of thought. One is that pinky should be on the inner octagonal, and one is that the pinky should be on the top plane. You know, I'm just a big fan of the inner octagonal because it gives such control and gives you the ability to push and pull with the thumb. If you're on the top, the pinky wants to fall off. So I teach my students strictly and religiously to place their pinky on that inner octagonal, not on the top. Here's another reason why. When you get to the frog, we tend to tilt the bow anyway. So then guess what is the top? What used to be the inner octagonal is now the top. And so now you have the optimal pushing power with pinky. So I have to say, I think my way is the best. And you'll rarely hear me say that. But I want to encourage you to put your pinky on the inner octagonal. And because of that, you got to keep your pinky nail so short. If you don't, it won't be able to seat and it'll fall off because your fingernail will prevent the pad, the flesh from sticking to the bow. Okay, so that's pinky. And then ring finger. You know what? Ring finger, by the time you get all those other contact points, ring finger is going to naturally be somewhere near the Parisian eye. And that's dynamic as well. As you're playing, it's going to move around, and that's okay. So I don't have really a contact point, just that it's somewhere in the vicinity of the Parisian eye and never up on the wood. That's completely out of bounds. So let me review those contact points, and then I'll give you a couple little exercises. Number 1, contact point, middle finger looking in the window. Number 2, contact point, the thumb is going to touch the ebony and the thumb leather and the horsehair. Think of it as triangulation. So then you've got your nice little circle between middle finger and thumb. Okay, next is the pad of the index finger on the leather and the knuckle of the index finger on the lapping. And look at my knuckles, they're nice and slanted, just like the egg exercise. Okay, is your thumb still touching the horsehair? Let me just remind you to keep that thumb bent. And then the next is the pinky. Pinky goes near the end of the black ebony, right? Not beyond, and definitely never on the metal. Okay, so, and then inner octagonal, if you please, is what I urge my students to do. And ring finger takes care of himself. Oh, while you're finding your little markers and your little reference points, hold the bow with your left hand so that your right hand isn't tasked with also holding the bow. Let your left hand assist while you're finding these marking points, and feel free to go horizontal or vertical, or horsehair facing you or horsehair facing the floor. You need to be able to do it from all angles, so keep it interesting. Okay. Okay, so the exercises, there's a cute little rhyme that we teach little Suzuki kids or big Suzuki kids, and with a perfect bow hold. After we get the perfect bow hold all established, then we see if they can maintain a perfect bow hold throughout this little rhyme. Up like the rocket, down like the rain, keeping everything bent and everything perfect. Back and forth like a choo-choo train. Round my face like a great big sun. On my nose, curled pinky, bent thumb. And you can go cross-eyed to check that those are bent. So, but it's a simple, cutesy little thing, but all that motion can tend to make us start to falter. And so it's a skill builder. Same with the windshield wiper exercise. Start with a bent arm, that's easier that way, and just go from horizontal hair down to horizontal hair up. So it's wrist rotations while keeping all of your contact points and everything bent like it's holding an egg still. And then when you want to make it more challenging, straighten your arm out. It makes it a little bit more strenuous. Do you notice that? And then, of course, the faster you go, the way more strenuous it is. And be careful, you could either break your bow or strain a finger. So my students like to try to show off and get dangerous, but really I don't like to do that because it starts to hurt. Okay, and then finally, you can take your perfect bow hold and write your name in cursive on the ceiling. And that is really good for the pinky because all the moving of the tip is forcing the pinky to keep a foothold and to hang on, even though you're twisting and turning. And if your pinky falls off, then you need to put him back on the inner octagonal, maybe cut your fingernail, or just make sure he's bent and seated really, really well. And that the other fingers are also helping and not expecting this guy to do it all by himself. Okay, so 3 simple exercises, the little rhyme, windshield wipers, and writing your name in cursive on the ceiling. And maybe don't even look at the ceiling, look at your bow hold instead. Okay, hope that these help, and thanks for watching. See you next time.